Let's see. Paint is coming off my 1999. What steps should I take in fixing it? Thank you. Sand it down. You have to sand it, prime it, and paint it. Now, primer is not, I wouldn't say necessary. Okay. You could get away without priming if your paint is in decent condition. So on the van here, it's already painted a single stage enamel. It's old, but I don't think I'm going to have to prime the whole van, just the bodywork areas. Okay. Maybe some areas that I get down into metal, then I would prime. So, you know, you don't necessarily, especially if you're painting base coat, not base coat, clear coat, a single stage, which is a very thick paint. Okay. You can just go right over enamel after you sand it. Okay. So when it comes to single stage, you don't have to prep it and get so fine, like 400 or 500 or 600 grit. You can actually finish off with like a 340, 360 grit if you wanted to, because that paint is thick and it will literally fill in all the sand scratches. All right. Control coat, i.e., let base flash completely or apply wet. Reduce, dilute the control coat, increase or decrease gun pressure. Well, a control coat, basically, you just want to lay it on medium wet, not too wet, let it flash, and then put your second coat on. Okay, you're not diluting, you're not doing anything like that. Spray gun pressure is the same throughout all stages. Okay, so if you're doing base coat, you're going to want to spray at anywhere from, depending on the gun. I've been spraying with the X88. 22 pounds does a pretty good job in atomizing, but you can go, normally you want to be spraying base coat at 24 to 26 pounds. Okay, trigger pulled, looking at your air pressure gauge. Okay. That's your normal base coat pattern, spray pattern, okay? Fully open, and then you just lay it on. You let that sit 20 minutes, give or take, 20, 25 minutes, and then you're ready for your second coat. Is matte finish considered a primer also? No, because if you're getting a matte finish, you're going to get a flattening agent that you put in your acrylic single stage system or your base coat, okay, or your single stage. Normally it's single stage, okay, that you put a flattener agent in it and it just dries flat or satin. Okay, that's not really a primer. I don't like flat jobs at all because it's not durable. You know, you get a bird poop on it or you go to clean it, it scratches and you can't buff it out because there's no clear coat on it. So I think, you know, a matte finish is good for a show job, you know, if you're just going to do it, or if you're doing like a plasti dip and it dries like a matte, then that's good. Okay. But it's not durable to scratches and whatnot. Okay. Or to the elements. If you get tree sap on it, bird poop on it, very bad. Tony, I molded a spoiler to a trunk using fiberglass, but after 2 months, the paint has cracked around where the bonding happened. What would be a better way to bond the two parts? So if you're using like a plastic or fiberglass part spoiler to metal or to a automotive fiberglass, plastic or metal, okay, I would definitely use an epoxy. Okay, and there's something 3M makes called panel bonding adhesive. Does anybody know the number offhand? I can't remember the number offhand, but if you Google it, I have some somewhere. I don't know where it is offhand. Might be in my container, but it's panel bonding adhesive. It's a 3M product, and you can get it on eBay. You can get it on Amazon. You need a special gun for it. I think the gun alone is like $60, but you can buy the whole kit, a gun and a cartridge for like $100, I believe, or 120. Really worth it if you're doing body work, if you're doing custom molds and all that. I've done tons of body kit molds with this stuff, and it sticks really good. Really, really good stuff. So you might want to check that out. Panel bonding adhesive by 3M. Starts with a 0, 0, 1. Somebody probably knows what I'm talking about here. Panel bonding adhesive 3M. Let's see. This is it. I got it right here. They also have it out. It's 08116. 08116 panel bonding adhesive. Okay, maybe I can share my screen quickly with you guys. Let's see if I can share my screen. Guys, can you see my screen? So this is what it is right here. Panel bonding adhesive 08116. You can go from metal to plastic, plastic to fiberglass, metal to fiberglass, whatever. Just make sure it's grinded, and whatever you're sticking to is, this is the old packaging. This is what the new packaging looks like. It looks like this. Okay. And it comes with a gun. No, it doesn't come with a gun. You got to buy the gun. I would actually just go to eBay and buy it on eBay. Amazon has it as well. This is the gun that it comes with right here. I have the red one right here. $123. You get a cartridge and the gun. And then if you want to buy cartridges alone, they're like $50 each. They used to be like $35. Everything's going up in pricing, guys. You might want to stock up. Does this help, guys? Let me know. Let me know. Is elaborating on previous question. I was referring to spraying final metallic mist coat on 2 normal coats of base. So when you're doing your drop coat of base like that, okay, your final coat, which is called like a drop coat, I would say your hood, say your hood, say this is your hood. Okay. Got my daughter on here. But as you spray this way, okay, you're going to spray this way. Here's the center of the hood. You're going to pick it up on the other side. You're going to go all the way through. When you're done, definitely crisscross it. Go like this. Spray. Up your pressure. You could even up your pressure, especially if it's metallic. You could go 28, 29 PSI. Bring the pressure up a little bit further from the panel. Instead of 4 to 6 inches away, you might want to go 10 to 12 inches away and just dust it quickly. We show you how to do all of this at Learn Autobody VIP as well. But that's what you want to do for your final coat, blending into adjacent panels and going around it, making sure it looks good, making sure you got lighting, because that's the only time you're going to check for an issue, imperfections, miscolor, color not matching, to fix it. Because when you're in your base coat stage, that's when you could play around. That's when you have room to fix it before you put your clear coat. Because if you just put your rush and put your clear coat on it, you're going to have to sand it all down if you made a mistake and redo the base. That question. John says, do you use wax and grease remover over plastic or urethane bumper before you prime? Yes, absolutely. You could do that. But if you're spraying over raw plastic, I would definitely recommend you pick up a can of this Bulldog adhesion promoter. Okay. Aerosol, you shake it, you just mist it. You just dust the raw plastic with this. Not a lot. Okay. You just want to mist it on. It's going to have like a little glossy coating that dries matte. And then you could put your primer on top of that. You could even shortcut if you want to, if you're feeling ambitious and you just want to get the job out the door, you could paint right over it. Okay. You could put base coat right over this, over raw plastic. If you want to, you could do it. All right. But if it's a sentimental build or an expensive job that you're doing, customers paying you good money, I would do this. I would put a 2K filler primer on top of it. Okay. If you want to cut out the plastic texture, right? Because a lot of bumper covers, raw plastic, you got a texture. Okay. Let's see if I can kind of look on this Tesla here, but you have like a plastic texture to it. So what I would do is wet sand is 400 grit, scuff it, adhesion promoter, 2K filler prime, wet sand 400, and it'll be like glass. when it's painted. You won't have this texture to it. Okay, so that's the other option. We're also going to be painting this Tesla soon, guys. After the van project, I'm not sure if we're going to move on to the Tesla or the 67 Chevelle rod. Miguel Santiago, etching primer or epoxy primer after etching agent on old GB sanded to metal. Definitely epoxy primer. Okay, epoxy primer is better than an etching primer. Okay, so use a good epoxy primer, and then after you spray your epoxy primer, you don't have to sand it. If you let that flash for about an hour or two, okay, you have a window, or three, okay, within the same day, okay, but you could prime 2K filler primer over it an hour after your epoxy primer settles and dries, okay, an hour flash time, basically. 1.4 tip size, absolutely you can. And I used to say this, over 10 years ago on some of my older YouTube videos. The only thing is, okay, if you're spraying a 2K filler primer out of a 1.3 to 1.4, you're going to want to reduce it 10 to 15%, make it thinner so it comes out of that nozzle size, and just give it a couple extra coats, okay? Because it's thinned out, you're going to want to give it an extra few coats to get the fill, okay? But normally, if you're spraying a 2K filler primer raw, just mixed or ready to go, you want to be spraying out of a 1.8 to 2.0 tip size, okay, in general, all right? But again, for many years, I had one spray gun that I used to use. I had a 1.4. I used it for all my base coat, clear coat. I used it for my priming, everything. The number one thing, guys, is keeping your spray guns clean, okay? If you keep your spray guns clean and you take care of them, they will last you a long time. The number one reason for spray gun malfunctions and failure is that you guys don't keep them clean, okay? You guys wait, the primer cakes up, and once you get hardened primer in your gun like that, it's hard to get back to brand new clean again. So it's best after you're done with your painting, after you're done with your base coat, you're done, clean it out really well. Okay, boom, do your clear coat. You're done with your clear coat, clean it out. You're done with your primer, clean it out. Okay, way to paint the car in humid weather. I'm in Florida, thank you. Humidity really doesn't affect paint jobs, guys, that much. Just make sure you're using a medium to slow reducer if you're doing complete paint jobs. But I'm in Hawaii. Okay, it gets humid here as well. I've never had issues with humidity. The only time you're going to have an issue is with your compressor building up condensation. So make sure you drain it before you start. You might even want to keep the valve open a little so it's draining while you're painting so that condensation stays out. Make sure you have your water filter on the wall, okay, filtering water, and make sure you have your last minute water filter on your spray gun to keep that condensation out. It's the only time you're going to worry about it. Other than that, as far as laying the paint on or letting it cure, you're not going to have an issue. Issues because before you clear coat, you're going to always be tacking it down anyway. And with metallics, in metallic paint, they're so fine, they're not going to cause orange peel, okay? Unless you're using a larger flake in an intercoat clear, okay? So if you're doing custom work and you're using larger flake, like mini flake, like these, like 0.008 in size, okay? These might give you a little roughness, but not really, okay? These are also fine. This is a House of Color mini ultra mini flake. This is a X Finishes mini flake. Okay, so as long as you, hey Nala, what's up, girl? Tack before you clear coat, you're gonna be fine. Okay, and if it's a stock metallic base coat, you don't have to worry at all with metallics popping out. That's more for like jumbo flake guys. The color seal primer before spraying base. If it's primer, you should be okay. I would just tack it and spray your base tomorrow. You should be fine. You should be fine. I wouldn't worry about it. What adhesive do you recommend to replace badges? You could use a two-way tape by 3M. They have rolls of them. And then we also have something called emblem adhesive. Let's see. This is good stuff right here. 3M plastic and emblem adhesive. Okay, it's a clear, it's like a glue. You put it on the back of your emblems, your chrome emblems, and you can just stick them on. Put very little because you don't want them dripping out on the side. All right. Oh, here it is. This is the actual gun with the panel bonding epoxy. Oh, this is it right here. Okay. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff in my toolbox here. I gotta actually clean up and organize. Robert says, I painted my wheels using a gun for the first time last week. Came out good, but had problem with taping and it leaked in. Any tips on taping? Yes, use a fine line tape if you're doing. Use a fine line tape. Okay, very good for masking out pinstriping or graphics and whatnot. Regular tape, doesn't stick as nicely, so you could get some leakage in there. Tony, there's filler than high build. Do I need to remove the clear before applying 1K primer, 1K enamel, or should I just 320 and do some spot tests? Yeah, anytime you're doing like a 1K, not the best. It's a very thin paint. I would say sanding with 320 is a little too coarse. You might want to go to 500, 600 grit. Okay. A 1K enamel, 1K primer, 1K paint is very, very thin paint. So it's very hard to get a nice finish. You can get a decent finish, but it won't be durable. It's not going to last long. A 2-part automotive paint is so much better if you're going to be doing something. So just keep that in mind. I would do some test spots, test panels, and just check it out. Yeah, a little hard for me to help you with that stuff. What grit if you're spraying epoxy? Is that your question? What grit if you're spraying epoxy primer? You can finish off with like a 150 grit. 150, 180. Okay. 150, 180, guys. You're good. Put a nice epoxy on top of that, or a 2K filler primer directly over it, or a DTM, which is a direct to metal filler primer. This is pretty much like a DTM, this ECG coating here. It says on the can, you could go directly over metal, and DTM, if you guys heard of DTM primers, directly over metal. So yeah, you can spray over. Your panel could be sanded, like I said, 150 to 180 grit. You could even go 220. Finer is okay as well. It doesn't have to be that coarse. Okay. I wouldn't go over 80. 80 is good for shaping. You could spray over 80, but some people do spray filler over 80. But I like to, if I'm doing body work and I'm shaping with 80 grit, 80 grit is the main grit we use for shaping, getting your body, the dent filled, shaping all done, feeling good. And then from there, I like to hit it with a 220 grit, scuff it, smoothing it out a little bit more, 220, 240, whatever sandpaper I have. Okay. And then after that, I'll fill it with a 2K filler primer. Okay. Or a DTM primer, whatever. It's good. I would really like to know what kind of air compressor you recommend. I think I would like to have a 60 or 80 gallon so I don't have to upgrade later. Yep. You hit it on the head. Utah in the house. So if you're going to be doing complete paint jobs and spraying a whole car, you're going to want to at least get a 60 gallon. Okay. This is the one I got. It's from Lowe's. Great compressor. I think I paid $600 or $650 for it. Okay, 2-stage pump. There's the details. 3.7 horsepower. Okay, 11.5 CFM at 40, 11.0 at 90, 240 volt. Hooks into a dryer, and this is great. It's quiet. My other compressor, I paid $1,200 for, the Bel Air in Dallas. Much louder than this one. This one's a lot quieter, no issues. 80 gallon is overkill. 80 gallon is good if you have a real body shop and you're banging out jobs and you got 2 people using your hose. Okay, if you got one guy painting in the booth and you got another guy doing body work, on the side somewhere, an 80 gallon could keep up with that. But if it's a single person, you and a buddy in the shop working, this is perfect. 60 gallon is all you need, and for painting a complete car. All right, peace out. Next week, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's Tony here from Paradise Garage and Learn Auto, Body, and Paint. Aloha, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great evening.